Hey guys, it's Zach with Learn Many Things, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make a standard campfire. So the first step is to clear a spot. If you're in the middle of the woods, which I am, you gotta move the leaves away. So that's what I did. Just drag them away with your boot, shoe, whatever you got on. You're barefoot. And if you want added protection against spreading fire, then you can put stones around. But this will be fine. I've done this before. Next, you're going to want to collect some dried grass. I went out to the grassy field over that way and collected some of this. It feels pretty dry, but if it's not dry, you can just stick it up under your coat and keep it close to your body for an hour or two, and that'll help dry it out. So this is what we're going to turn into our bird's nest, which I'll show in just a second. Next, you're going to want to arrange your pieces of wood by size. So it's starting from the smallest and gradually getting bigger. And you're going to lay this smallest piece. These small pieces are called kindling, and they're the ones that are going to go on the flame first to help generate some embers, so that way you'll have a flame that'll stick around long enough to catch these larger pieces on fire as you progressively increase the size of it. Let's get right into it with the bird's nest. There's a Carolina chickadee over there, and he's making his pissed off sound. Anyways, so to make the bird's nest, we mostly all know what a bird's nest is. The standard, stereotypical bird's nest, where it's a cup shape like this. You just take your tinder. This is what this is called, tinder, and you just wrap it around, make it into a little cup bird's nest. And your flame is going to go right in here. So just mess with it, shape it around until you get a bird's nest sort of like this. If you want to catch fire easier, you can rough it around in your hands. And, it's not that hard to reform it back into a bird's nest. Alright, perfect. Anyways, that's going to go right there. So I've got my fire kit right here. Sadly, I do not know how to make a fire without a match or a lighter. I have not learned that skill yet, but that's coming in the future. I tried to do it today, but I couldn't find a basswood tree or any softwood tree. So I'll have to wait to learn how to do that to make a friction fire. So, oh yeah, that's right. We got some cotton balls, some dryer lint, two lighters, and some pine sap resin, and some river birch bark. But what I'm going to be using today is some of this. It's pine sap resin, and it's basically an all-natural fire starter, and it works very, very well. And I'm going to be using some of the sycamore fruit as well to help keep a flame going. Alright, so basically go ahead and place that right there in your bird's nest. Lighter. There we go. Let's use our sycamore puffball. And not inhale smoke. Now you're going to lay your kindling on. Kind of spread it over. Let's bring some of that grass over where the fire is. And then you can start to lay your bigger pieces on. Start to lay bigger pieces on. Oh yes, blowing into the fire helps. It helps it get more oxygen and helps the stuff that's sort of on fire catch more on fire, for lack of a better way of putting it. Careful not to smother the fire though, because you don't want, because oxygen or fire feeds on oxygen. If you smother a fire, there's not going to be any oxygen to carry it, to create it. So we're up to our third level in piece thickness, and the flame is catching. Yeah, it's catching. Just kind of want to let it sit until you get, see the white glowing pieces, those are called embers, and that's the foundation of a fire that'll last. So what you really want are those. Those definitely mean that this fire is gonna last. It won't go out so easily. Notice how I'm stacking it in a semi-TP fashion. It's just to allow multiple openings to let more oxygen in, as opposed to a pre-made TP fire. And of course, if you want to speed things along, just gently blow right at the base of the fire. You can also lay your pieces like this, parallel, and parallel again, make a sort of square. I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. There's not really a set way to make a fire. You just kind of get sized pieces from smallest to largest, and you just gradually increase the size of your fire. And also try to dodge the smoke as much as you can. In case anybody was wondering, again, I am using bush honeysuckle because it is an invasive plant, and I do not like invasive plants. So might as well burn it. Another great tip for fire building. These little flangey pieces are great for catching fire. Also, fire likes to travel upwards, which is why it's good to have, your fire at the base, as opposed to putting your tinder and kindling pile on the top of a pre-made stack of wood. We're just gonna pile these on top. Maybe blow one or two more times, and then we'll check back in a few minutes. See how it looks. Alright, we'll be back. Alrighty folks, this is what we have. This is the culmination of but a few more extra blows into the base of the fire, and adding some smaller or somewhat larger sticks in like this, just to reinforce the flame. Which sometimes you might have to do. You just pretty much got to do whatever you can to keep the flame going. Play around and find what technique works best for you, and hopefully this is a good starting place for you. But yeah, there she is. If I wanted to, I could continue to grow her, but this is a good size for the video. Alright, so when you're done, kind of separate her out. If the flames have, already subsided, then you don't have to worry about this, but I'm done with her. Kind of separate it, put out the flames. Drown her. Look at all that steam. Stomp her out for good measure. making sure it's out part is the most important part, of course, especially if you live out west. And give her twice over just to make sure there's no glowing embers left. I know this looks like smoke, but it's steam. It's just steam. Okay. We're good. So one more quick tip. If you're surrounded by trees like I am, and you have a fire in the woods, cut. So one more quick tip. If you're in the woods, surrounded by trees like I am, and you want to put out your campfire, take a stick and poke holes in the ground about, I don't know, 6 inches deep, several all around where your fire was, and then pour your water over, and the holes help the water percolate into the ground. Because if you have a large fire in the woods and they're close to roots, sometimes the roots can turn into embers like, well, this one was, and that could later start a fire of its own. So you want the water to seep into the ground as well and put out any fires or ember that may or may not be existing out of sight. And this is just another general fire safety tip.